Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. When an event repeats, it's no longer random, it becomes a pattern. And when that pattern is driven by calculated intent to distort truth, manipulate perception, gaslight, and fabricate a false reality, it exposes something deeper. A system built on deception of people in power whose power is corrupted to serve themselves rather than the people they claim to represent. Whitmore has a long history of this behavior, of engaging in conduct that raises eyebrows, casts suspicion to downright brazen, in-your-face, shameless manipulation. It is their consistent inconsistencies, avoidance of direct answers, secretive actions, overreaction to scrutiny, bullying, and monitoring and controlling others. President Mayor Rayleigh's statement in last Tuesday's meeting underscores this conduct when she revealed the real reason she shut down Zoom. Confident she was not being recorded during Good and Welfare, President Mayor Rayleigh's forked tongue let slip a stunning admission.
Also, let me go back to where these insurance issues. I do want to say that the associations that dropped their cases did so for the good of Whitmore, okay? And their residents. So I'm glad about that. But there is a rumor going around, and I'm glad we're not on Zoom now and whatever.
Could she be any clearer as to her motives that shutting down Zoom had nothing to do with needing to protect the owners, but to protect herself? She shut down Zoom during Good and Welfare to give her the freedom to make announcements free from scrutiny. It was a way to continue feeding her lobotomized council reps their diet of bullshit, smeared with fat and marinated in gluttony. It was her last desperate attempt to clutch onto power she no longer has. An attempt to control the narrative when the truth has already blown up all her previous attempts. She only added another one to her list of failures. Here's the announcement she wanted to make that she didn't want you to hear. When I say you, I mean you, whose critical thinking is still intact. You, who have a fine-tuned bullshit barometer with severe allergies to her manipulative menus served with her saccharine sneer.
And now it's going to cost the residents $6 million in assessments. That is not going to happen. I don't think any one of those associations are going to assess their residents because this lawsuit didn't go through. So there you go. So that's another rumor. So it's done. I mean, please, don't believe everything, again, that you hear or read on Facebook. So,
who does she think is going to pay to have these roofs replaced or fixed? One association has already assessed their owners $4,000 per unit. When she sniggers at a $6 million claim, compare it to the claim WCC put in after Hurricane Wilma, claiming damages for $126 million. They had no problem filing that lawsuit. There was zero concern that the owners would have their premiums increased or that they should drop it for the good of Whitmore. Why was it only a concern when WCC was not in control of the claim or the money, but the associations were for the sole benefit of the residents? President Mayor Rayleigh accused the association presidents of fraud and filing frivolous claims. Let's test the statement against WCC's conduct regarding their lawsuit against QBE, claiming damages of $126 million. Their pattern of behavior was already evident in 2012. Note, Mark Bogan was listed as one of their lawyers. The court documents read like a sensory overload of jaw-dropping, head-spinning, and moments. Here are some key points. QBE claimed the plaintiffs intentionally destroyed work orders from before Hurricane Wilma, depriving QBE of crucial evidence. These documents could have supported QBE's defense that the damage was due to non-covered causes like wear and tear, deterioration, or faulty maintenance, not the hurricane. WCC, it appears, to have a long history of denying records to support their claims. But that's not all they did. QBE discovered that a large volume of documents had been shredded just weeks before a scheduled inspection. It argued this destruction was done in bad faith, especially given the timing and relevance of the records. Could it be that WCC denied QBE documents for precisely this reason? They did not want QBE to know about leakage or faulty maintenance repairs that had nothing to do with Hurricane Wilma. Are owners still being charged for leaks 20 years later that many of you report today? Was the shredding of those documents a deliberate attempt to eliminate evidence that might undermine their narrative? And if so, who was behind it? What kind of employee would do something this reckless? About $60 million of the plaintiff's $126 million claim involved window replacements due to water damage. But the few work orders WCC did provide pre-Wilma showed issues with windows, doors, and roofs, damage they blamed on the hurricane. One of QBE's lawyers, Mr. Rolfe, kept meticulous records of the documents WCC provided. Mr. Rolfe noted that service requests contained more detailed repair information than completion reports. So what he found was that WCC described on the work orders what needed to be repaired, but the completion reports showed they were ignored and the repairs were not done. Has any director checked if this is still going on? Ronnie Sidney was the president of Portofino 1A. She certainly did not check what was going on with expansion joints, as an example. Work orders show that the same expansion joints were fixed and replaced multiple times, and Ronnie Sidney just kept signing invoices and approving payments. Mr. Rolfe discovered that on October 12 and 21 of 2011, Shreddit was requested to perform a non-scheduled purge, shredding a total of 130 boxes of documents. Who was the employee who recklessly shredded these documents? None other than CFO Arnold. He admitted he didn't open the boxes before he shredded them because he relied on the labels. Initially, 40 boxes were marked for shredding, but he later admitted he didn't keep count. This is an accountant, the CFO of Winmore, who didn't count. Here's another jaw dropper. Arnold stated that accounting records were already digitized in 2005, but in 2004, he claimed they were not. It would be too expensive, he whined. Does this mean all those boxes scattered over the floor in the conference room is for show? QBE noted that some boxes were crushed and had droppings, raising concerns about document integrity, and for this you pay CFO Arnold and Administrator Bandler handsomely. Ms. Connolly, an employee of WCC, denied calling Shreddit, but conceded Arnold may have asked her to do so. She had previously admitted to the QBE lawyers that truckloads of documents were shredded. Using employees to further their interests was set in motion back then. Having employees lie for them was not something that started with O'Neill and Darrell. Was it this shredding of documents that earned CFO Arnold the title Altar Boy? Mr. Sansone, QBE's expert, concluded that most of the damage cited in Winmore's reports either didn't exist or wasn't caused by the hurricane. Didn't exist? And President Mayor Rayleigh had the gall to accuse the association presidents of fraud and filing frivolous claims for $6 million? Does this not define hypocrisy? The court documents stated that the destroyed documents may have contained evidence undermining Winmore's $126 million claim, particularly the $60 million attributed to window damage. Despite Mr. Arnold's claim that only outdated financial records were shredded, the court noted that very few work orders were produced. Based on testimony and evidence, the court found strong circumstantial evidence of bad faith in the destruction of documents. If the court did not believe CFO Arnold, how do they expect us to believe anything he says? When someone lies once, nothing they say can be believed. Some of the few surviving work orders support QBE's argument that damage claimed by plaintiffs predated Hurricane Wilma, undermining their insurance claim. This is important when you think how many owners still complain about leaks 20 years later, and how President Mayor Rayleigh dared accuse the association presidents of fraud and filing frivolous insurance claims. How many millions have been unnecessarily charged to the owners over the last 20 years when Winmore claimed that Wilma caused the leaks and sued the insurance company for damages? Can we believe anything Winmore says? All we can believe is how many millions you have been overcharged for everything, including insurance. This ploy of denying access to documents continues today. They used the same MO in their multiple defamation lawsuits, where they gave laughable reasons as to why they cannot produce documents. The most ridiculous one was that they are not in possession, custody, or control of them. All this does is make them look like a bad joke and guilty as hell. They only have themselves to blame for damaging what was left of their credibility. Fast forward to 2023, to the hero of the story, our beloved barbecue that brought all this to light. If not for the barbecue and President Mayor's obsession to have it removed, this pattern to control the narrative, the ploys they use, and their cast of characters would never have been discovered. We do need to give credit where it's due. If President Mayor Rayleigh Jong-un had minded her own business, followed her own rules, and not interfered in association matters, or felt threatened by a barbecue invading her territory, none of us would be any of the wiser. Their desperation to keep their secrets hidden and to silence me reminded me of Lucy in the Chocolate Factory. Their efforts were no less frenetic or comical. Here's a summary of a partial list of what President Mayor Rayleigh helped us uncover. Like Lucy, but without the charm or the style, she could not hide them fast enough. President Mayor Rayleigh, together with Bandler, withheld documents sent from the city regarding a permit we needed. Not only did she withhold the documents, deny that there were any, but also withheld the information that a permit was required. Just the conduct one would want from an administrator, a president, and a city official. For months and months, President Mayor Rayleigh repeatedly told the residents that we got the barbecue pad illegally, causing hostility and division amongst the residents she has a fiduciary duty to protect and serve. President Mayor, Bandler, and the Board of Disgrace were caught withholding bids for the pool furniture and then shamelessly defended their indefensible actions and justified why it was just fine to overcharge owners $23,000 and withhold bids. President Mayor Rayleigh and her team of disgrace sent out an email blast to control the narrative, making wild, unfounded accusations, instructing her residents to stop them. A stranger to the truth makes people do crazy shit. No apologies or acknowledgement for the result of this crazy shit email blast. Excuse the pun. Not a word of reprimand to her good friend Perry Pooh, who sent the poo to our door via USPS. The only word the President Mayor did say about swastikas that were painted near our back door was that they were always there. Once again, her ploy to manipulate the truth backfired. She made herself look like an even more incompetent fool. Like everything she does that backfires, and not known for her strategic skills, she did not take into account how dumb she sounded by claiming the swastikas were always there. That's what happens when you don't tell the truth. You get caught up in your web of deceit and look even worse. If they were always there, why did she allow them to remain? She then started filing false police reports and had the city manager, city lawyer, and chief of police do absolutely nothing about it. Anyone else would have been criminally charged. We then had their pathetic sham of an investigation where the ex-judge was instructed not to look at anything to do with Winmore when everything she did as a commissioner was to benefit herself as the president of Winmore. Another example of misinformation and controlling the narrative is with the shameful journalists who kneel at the altar of disgrace. Local journalists in the Sun Sentinel will go down in the Journalist Hall of Shame for indulging WCC's whims. President Mayor Rayleigh and Commissioner Bogan then trotted down to the Broward State Attorney to file a false, malicious stalking charge against an innocent man who was not even in the country for 8 of the 9 months he was meant to have stalked her. In their greed for power and control, they had their minions lie under oath in their affidavits to support their false narrative that Mrs. Mayor Kim Jong-un was stalked. This ploy blew up in their face. Their case was dismissed before it made it to court, as it was seen for what it was, a bunch of lies. Multiple retaliatory, frivolous lawsuits were filed to silence the truth. Like a compulsive habit, they refused to provide documents to support their claims and could not even provide what their damages were. They used owners' money to pay for the lawsuits and then had the Commissioner of Broward claim in a secret meeting he was working pro bono when his invoice showed otherwise, a violation for President Mayor Rayleigh since she is a volunteer and prohibited from receiving money, favors or gifts. Once again, their ploy backfired. They claimed over $150,000 in damages, but failed to provide evidence for this claim, just what they did with QBE. When faced with the risk of paying my legal fees, they grabbed the pennies offered to them, over $150,000 in damages for their frivolous defamation lawsuits, but when challenged, they folded like a cheap suit. Desperate to silence the truth, President Mayor Rayleigh shut down Zoom and Channel 99. Just what you would want from a transparent, ethical board who has nothing to hide. Having failed at silencing me, another lawsuit was filed, this time asking the court to stop me from posting on Facebook. Learning from history is evidently not their strong suit. Dictators fail, tyrants are thrown out, censorship backfires. I love the American story because the baddies are always caught and the good guys are always victorious. A story as old as David and Goliath. Good guys don't fight for personal gain. They fight for what's right. Transparency is right. Opening books to scrutiny is right. Welcoming discussions, questions, and criticism is right. Just ask the baddies in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly how well it turned out for them.